Hi there, this is Jennifer, and I'm very glad you're here today. I have a special guest for you, one of my favorite card makers, Therese Calvird. Now, she is great at clean and simple yet bold and striking card designs. She has several techniques she's going to share with you today on making big impact with dark backgrounds. I really hope you'll watch because there's a lot to learn here, and I find that it's inspiring for a variety of products. So hopefully you can try them with things you have on hand. Let's get started.
Hi there, my name's Therese Calvird. I'm really excited to be here at Jennifer McGuire's channel sharing some wonderful Altenew products with you today. We're going to be doing some easy ways to create some striking cards using dark backgrounds. Now this is not something I would typically do. So my first two cards are going to be focused on die cutting. The next ones will be doing a bit of stamping, and if you stick around, I've got a bonus card at the end. The first die cut technique we're going to be doing today is a repeat bright pattern on a dark background. It really makes it pop. So I've chosen the Ornate Flowers die set, and I did this because it actually has multiple layers. It's a layering die set, so that's going to allow me to create a repeat pattern with all the layers as well as the pattern on the card front itself. Once I'd sort of laid out which dies I wanted to use, it was a matter of choosing what colors I want to put together, and I used some of the gradient cardstocks because these are medium weight cardstock and really good for layering. Now one tip here is this card is going to get bulky, so if you do want to save on postage, I would recommend not adding all the layers that I'm doing because you may notice I do like dimension on my cards. So when I'm creating a repeat pattern, I find it easier to actually make my images first. And what I mean by that is I've actually layered up each of the die cuts how I want them to be, and I've created multiples. And you may also notice that I had doubles cut. Because this is a lighter weight cardstock, I actually doubled up the base of the flower and the leaves just so that I can, when I pop them up on the front of the card, they will be a little bit more sturdy. Now to get my foam tape just that little bit thinner, I'm using a piece of release paper that's just off the back of I think it was a sheet of magnetic board or something like that, and then I can adhere the foam tape to that and then cut it down. This way I'm not going to end up with sticky scissors. Works a treat. Other ways that you can create repeat patterns other than flowers is you can also look at your geometric designs. If you've got some shaped die cuts, you can even stamp a repeat pattern, although on a dark background I would recommend maybe doing some heat embossing. And obviously these patterns aren't going to perfectly match, but you know, it's a handmade card. The colors are beautiful, the basic pattern's there. I don't think anyone's going to complain. I used a Sweet Sentiment, which I layered up from the Versatile Greetings die set, and I love that this set actually has the shadow feature for the word. And I just added some sweet little dots just to fill in those gaps there. So we're on to the second card now, and I do like to keep separate blending tools for my pigment inks, and I actually just have a P written on the top. I find 4 colors, 4 tools is enough, and I can just use one for each family. This technique that I'm doing right now is probably the easiest one that we're doing today. I'm literally going to create a highlight background using these pigment inks and then add some bold flowers on top. Pigment ink is your friend on dark cardstock, and you'll be seeing me using that multiple times on today's video. But I would suggest if you are wanting to add some color to some dark cardstock directly like I'm doing here, you will need to use a pigment ink because that ink will sit on top of the card, whereas dye inks will dye into the card and you won't get that effect. I wanted to add some bold bright flowers to the dark background to really make them pop, and I chose the Stargazer Lily layering die set. I've die cut the flowers. It actually has 3 different shaped lilies in the set, and I've cut them out of some white cardstock. I know they're not very bright yet, but they will be. I've got a mini ink blending tool, and I'm just literally blending colour onto each of the petals, starting from the center and working out. That way I can leave like a little bit of a white highlight on the edge of the lily petals and just make them stand out on that dark background a little bit better. So I did my first layer with the pink diamond colour, and then I'm coming in with the Pinkalicious, which is one of my favourite hot pinks or bright pinks that Altenew has. I don't know if you've used any of the new layering flowers from Altenew, but they actually have a little image in the centre, either a key or an arrow, that really makes it easy to help line up the layers. These flowers here also had like an impression on the edge of the actual petals so that you knew where to put the next petal, but you can always look at the back of the packaging or at the website at Altenew where you buy the product. There's always a guide there that will help you if you are struggling with the layering, but they are easier than ever to put together now, and really pretty too. And I also cut some leaves and the center of the flowers out of some of the Blends paper pack from Altenew. It's a great paper pack, that one, because it has all the different colors and all the different shades. Like it's each page is ombre, so you get all different shades, even in just one piece of the cardstock. I know I said that I wanted to use bright colors on this dark background, but wouldn't this be fun with the black and white and grey combo with that pigment glow around the edges as well? All I did here was add a simple sentiment, which is from the Elegant Sayings stamp and coordinating die set, and pop that up on the front. You could also do a die cut sentiment if you prefer here as well. So now we're on to the first of our two stamping techniques, and I'm using the Dynamic Duo Always Smile. So this set has a stamp set with coordinating stencil, and I'm going to be using the Pigment Cloud White from Altenew as well as some Woodless colouring pencils. I'm starting by stamping out the two flowers onto some navy blue cardstock. Now this isn't the panel for the front of my card. I am going to stamp colour and then cut them out, and then I can pop them up on the front of my card. Like I said, dimension. Every time I've got to add dimension. And I did actually come in and stamp with the Cloud White twice, and it's a really nice, bright, vivid white. The second way I'm going to use the Cloud White here is with a stencil, with the coordinating leaf stencil, and I'm only going to use the base of the leaf, and you'll see why very soon. So I used the Cloud White to do two of the leaves across the front of this navy panel, and then I'm going to set that aside to dry. One of the great things about using wax-based pencils on dark cardstocks, other pencils don't sort of hold the colour so well, but the wax-based pencils seem to sit on top of the cardstock. But one thing I like to do is actually add a layer of white beneath, and that way you can get a more vivid colour. And I recommend doing a test on a scrap piece of the same cardstock. That way you know exactly what it's going to look like. So what I'm doing here to colour my flowers in, I'm actually adding a really light layer of the white pencil first. This is just going to allow the colours that I add over top to be a little bit more vibrant, but you don't need to do this step. There are lots of different pencils out there that can work with this technique, so try what you have and see how you go. Otherwise, these pencils are really, really beautiful to colour with. I come in first with the darker pencil, then a medium shade, and then I actually come in and add some highlights to the petals as well using the white pencil. I don't use any blending solutions or Gamsol or anything like that on coloured cardstocks typically. I find they don't play as nice. And I kind of like the look of pencil as well. It looks hand coloured, and the wax-based pencils do sort of blend themselves as you colour with them. So be careful not to press too hard with the pencils because that will fill the tooth of the paper. And once that tooth is full, you can't really add any more colour. So the lighter you press, the more colour and depth you're going to be able to add. I came back in with the cloud white and restamped over top. And then it was time to colour my leaves. Now you see why I actually only needed to do the base leaf from the stencil set. It's because I'm going to add the depth using the pencils. And I did allow the time for this ink to dry, but you could also hit it really lightly with a heat tool. But this really makes the pencil colours pop, and I can use the white ink through the stencil as part of the highlight on my leaves. It's really easy to colour. I literally just chose the greens that I wanted to use some darker colours at the base and the lighter colours to reblend the two together. I was actually tempted to leave the leaves white, but I did want to show you that there are two different ways you can use pencils on dark cardstock. And using the grid mat really helped hold the whole panel in place while I was doing my colouring as well. I added the panel to the front of an A2 card and fussy cut my flowers and popped them up. I also added a sentiment that I stamped with some Desert Night ink, so it's a navy blue ink, works really well with the navy cardstock, and that's from the Sweet Lilies stamp set, and made this a sympathy card. And my second stamping technique today is layered ink blending. I don't know if you've ever tried this on dark cardstock, but it's some serious fun. I actually stamped out the Billowing Peonies stamp set. This is huge. I don't know if you've seen this set. It's like the biggest stamp set I think I've ever seen. And this is the smaller image out of the stamp set. No kidding. I am heat embossing it using some golden peach embossing powder. And I did have to take my time doing the heat embossing here because I could have easily missed a place in such a large stamp. Now, like I said, I am going to be doing layered ink blending, and this set has coordinating stencils. There's actually, I think it's a set of 12, but I'm not using all the stencils here. I only want to use certain layers of the stencil. You'll see what I mean when I start blending, but I wanted some of the actual cardstock to still show through on the flowers. If you prefer a different look, you could certainly blend from the base up. I only wanted to sort of do a bit of shading on the actual petals of the flowers themselves, and I chose some of the pinks, and again I'm using another pigment ink here. This is going to sit on the top of the cardstock and actually allow you to see the colour. If I used a dye ink here, you really wouldn't be able to see the colour on cardstock as dark as this. And I am going to layer these inks, so I will look at my stencils and grab the next layer, line it up, and I'm actually adding a brighter pink colour. This is the coral berry on top of that pale pink. And on this dark brown cardstock, how different does that look? I am holding it in place with some magnets here because I found the cardstock warped when I did the heat embossing, and I couldn't be bothered sort of waiting for it to straighten out, and this was the quickest and fastest way to do that. For the leaves, I actually did colour the whole base of the leaf. I used the lighter green first and then added the darker green over top. It's really easy to layer up these stencils, and they are numbered, but of course you can always have a look at the guide if you're not sure. And it's really easy to remove the excess pigment ink off the embossed area. Just use a soft cloth or paper towel. So I'm adding a sentiment from the Bold Thanks die set, and I've used some of the brushed rose metallic cardstock. These two items are a match made in heaven. Seriously, they go together like peas and carrots. And I love how this card turned out. See that little bit of sneaky dimension on the word thanks? Are you ready for the bonus technique? We're going to be doing some inlay die cutting with a dark background. I've got the zero waste leaf pattern die, and I've cut it twice, once from some white cardstock. This is the portion that we're going to be using to inlay. The second time I'm cutting it from some jet black cardstock, but this time I'm adding some of the A4 sheet adhesive behind that because I'm making a big sticker out of that one. The portion that I want to inlay, it's the leaves, but I'm also going to re-inlay the dots, but you'll see that in a moment. And I decided to colour the leaves in all different sort of shades of green. And I did that the same as I coloured the flower earlier in the video, just with a mini ink blending tool and some green and blue inks, just to get me the different shades. While they were drying a little bit, I removed the, I'm saying this in inverted commas, the sticker off the back of the panel for the front of my card and attaching it directly to the front of my A2 side fold card. And then to inlay the pieces, I'm actually just using a little bit of liquid glue and my tweezers. And it's as simple as that. The hardest part for this whole technique is finding those little black dots that are hiding. I actually think I found one or two still on the sticker sheet that I nearly threw away, and luckily I didn't. But how easy is that? How bold and beautiful do those leaves look on the dark background? I added a simple sentiment, just a white heat embossed one from the linear spiral set, and I die cut that with a circle die. And if you don't have a cover die, you can always recreate this card just using some leaf dies. So what techniques have we done today? We've created a bright die cut pattern on a navy background and a bold floral bouquet that's surrounded by a glow. We did 2 pencil techniques on this card. Next we did some layered ink blending onto some chocolate cardstock. And finally, our bonus technique, we did some inlay die cutting. I hope that you've been inspired today and have enjoyed these easy ways to create striking cards using dark backgrounds. Thank you so very much, Jennifer McGuire and Altenew, for this incredible opportunity. I hope that you all have an amazing day. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.
Aren't those amazing cards? I will link to her YouTube channel, Instagram, and blog below. And also I will link to her channel here at the end. If you're interested in the supplies that she used today, those are also linked below in the YouTube description. I thank you for spending this time here with us, and I'll see you soon with another video.